Inside Utah Politics.
Time now for a closer look at some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have former State Representative Rebecca Chavez-Houck and State Auditor John Dougall. Great to have both of you back on the show. Thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, great to be with you.
Thanks for having us.
Obviously, one of the big stories of the week, the State of the Union address coming from the President. The President's message was clear, finish the job, and he was pretty optimistic when he talked about job creation, the unemployment rate, infrastructure, and other things. I'd like to get your thoughts on his overall message. To start things off, Rebecca, let's begin with you.
Oh, I was really heartened to hear him talk about the various infrastructure projects and things that are now being funded through the infrastructure law, and how that money, our hard-earned money, is coming back to Utah to be able to use on projects close to home and needed items here, whether it's in transportation, education, and other services for the citizens and the residents of Utah. So that is a message that I think came loud and clear, and I'm happy that he really lifted that up and elevated that so people could reflect on things that they start to see happening here, those groundbreakings like he mentioned, and what it will mean for both the economies, our local economies, more jobs, and just improvements generally.
John, you're welcome for making you watch the speech. What did you think of it?
Well, at double speed. No. So one of the interesting things is it looked much more of a campaign speech than really something about governing. I'm not a fan of the state unions because it's just a laundry list with lots of applause and other things like that. I want some serious policy chops. And I think, unfortunately, most Americans checked out. What do we have? 30% fewer Americans watched it this year than last. And I think it's because the reality that Joe Biden talks about is not the reality everyday Americans face. He talks about a better economy and so forth, and everyday Americans are looking, saying, my paycheck buys less. I can't afford to fuel my car and other things like that. And so they're very concerned about the economy. They're concerned about inflation. They're concerned about the cost of goods. And his reality is not theirs.
Rebecca, I'd like to get your thoughts on that because that was also a major theme following the address. The President very positive as he talked about his policies and the impact they're having on the economy. But when you take a look at polls, the American people aren't necessarily feeling that. Your thoughts? Yeah,
it continues to be a challenge. We have to understand that we come on the heels of unprecedented challenges related to the pandemic. The global economy obviously affects what happens close to home, and helping people understand the intersectionality that occurs with what's happening with the global economy and how that affects us close to home, whether it's with gas prices or grocery prices. But again, looking at those employment increases, people finding jobs. But we have to look also at what the market bears and how people are able to afford what's happening in the market. Looking at things that we often as Democrats propose, like living wage, and even just increasing the minimum wage for folks that are just at the very getting the very bare bones of what they should be earning. So, it's a balance of being able to provide for people so that they can afford things, and also understanding how the international markets play when it comes to issues like inflation.
John, any final thoughts on that before we move to another?
Well, let me touch real quick. I know lots of folks have made a talking point about Social Security. On the current path Social Security is on in between 2034 and 2037, it's not going to be able to fully meet its commitments. And so something needs to be done about Social Security. And folks, putting their heads in the sand and pretending like everything is fine, I'm sorry, it's not fine. We've got fiscal problems there. I get concerned when the President talks about oil companies as well, and he talks about, well, they could do more investment. We need you for at least 10 more years. Well, when they're looking at considering 30 and 40-year investments, and basically the President's telling you you're going to be out of business in 10, yeah, who in their right mind is going to invest in those kind of businesses?
I'm glad you brought up Social Security because that was a very interesting moment in the President's address. He called out Republicans, saying they have these plans to try to dissolve it. He called out later, this war of words went into the following days, he called out later by name our Utah Senator Mike Lee. I spoke to Senator Lee after the State of the Union, and he says that the President is mischaracterizing their goal on Social Security. Rebecca, what do we make of all of that?
Public policy solutions, as both John and I know, having served in the House together, at the Utah House together, are very nuanced and very challenging. What I will say is I'm hoping it's somewhere between pulling it out by its roots and being able to defend the promise of Social Security of what it was when it was implemented so many years ago. You know, the thing is that there are other ways of dealing with the sustainability, but doing blanket issues or blanket solutions like sunsetting it every 5 years or raising the age of eligibility for everyone are not the solutions. There's got to be something in between, and you know, maybe we look at things. And I know this isn't popular. This is a personal feeling of mine. Maybe looking at things like means testing. Multimillionaires shouldn't be receiving necessarily Social Security payments. So there's ways of looking at it without having a blanket solution that might affect people that could really seriously benefit from having their Social Security benefits continue.
John, what do you think are some viable solutions to the Social Security issue?
Well, one of the first things is to stop using that money as a piggy bank. Congress and presidents love to spend that money. They talk about a lockbox, but the simple fact is somebody has to repay those debts, and that relies on the future generations. And so you've got to be, you know, you've got a president who basically has helped light the fire in this thing and then wants a medal as if he's fixing it and solving it. But I would look at age issues. Means testing, as was described earlier, I think has a lot of merit. The simple fact is allowing folks to choose other alternatives than Social Security, I think has merit, because if you look at the poor returns that so many Americans are getting from Social Security, you know, to allow them some safe opportunities to invest and provide some opportunities and options there, I think it gets Congress to stop spending that money.
Having a living wage in order to be able to invest is a first step, though, too.
All right. Let's talk about some of the contentious moments we saw during the address. Jeers, boos, yelling at the president. Is this where we are as a country right now, Rebecca?
You know, I think that the crack in the ice occurred when a few years ago President Obama was giving his State of the Union speech, and there was somebody in the audience who called him a liar. You know, the protocol, the decorum, previous to that, and at least in history, my recent history, I'd never seen such behavior at a State of the Union address. And so I think that kind of led the way to more vitriol, more rhetorical banter. You know, I was saddened by that it's kind of relegated to that. We in the House had our, you know, at the local level in the Utah State House, we have our rules of decorum, and something like that just isn't acceptable. And the presiding officer puts those things in check. But it's also the control of the party leader, you know, that is also in play there.
Yeah, you saw Speaker McCarthy try to shush at times, but it didn't make any difference. John, your thoughts on the civility component?
I also have concerns with the civility aspect. Over the years, we've seen less decorum and things like that. I think maybe too many folks are wanting to model Parliament and the raucous nature that is. I don't know if that's the purpose of the State of the Union. I think there's many other opportunities to express one, displeasure with a president's policies and opportunities for better alternatives.
The president calling for bipartisanship, saying, look, we worked together in the last Congress to get things done. We can do it again in this one. Any hope for bipartisan work over the next couple of years, Rebecca? You
know, I'm hoping for the cause of the people, that there is more bipartisanship. I hope for more moderate elements of both parties to start to maybe come across the aisle like we used to do and come to agreement on areas that we feel need to be improved upon for the common welfare. So I always have hope for that, because there are people in office that are true servant leaders that are there for the right reasons, and you hope that their efforts will prevail.
John, one of the difference with this Congress is Republicans now control the House. What is the outlook for bipartisan work for the American people over the next Congress?
Glenn, that's a great question. I wish I had my magic 8-ball that I could shake and know the answer. I hope there's opportunities for...
That's why I invited you here.
That's right. That's right. I believe there are various opportunities for some bipartisan solutions. I think immigration is one of those challenging ones. I would love for them to come to a bipartisan solution there. But right now, what I'm seeing is the president drawing a line in the sand when it comes to the debt limit, saying, you got to live by my terms. It's my terms or the highway. And I don't think that's a good way to get to a bipartisan solution.
All right. Really appreciate your insight. Thanks so much to both of you for being with us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Inside Utah Politics.